Think about your Monday morning 3 years ago. You were probably sitting in bumper-to-bumper traffic, white-knuckling the steering wheel, cursing the guy who just cut you off without a blinker. You were spending $60 a week on gas, $12 a day on a mediocre city salad, and probably another $5 on a latte just to survive the 2 p.m. slump. Back then, the dream was simple. If I could just work from home, I'd be rich. I'd save the gas money, I'd make my own coffee, and I'd finally have that extra $1,000 a month to actually invest. Fast forward to today. You're working from your spare bedroom or your kitchen table. Your commute is 10 steps. You haven't put gas in the car in 2 weeks, but you look at your bank account at the end of the month and it's empty. In fact, you're feeling more squeezed now than when you were commuting an hour each way. You're not imagining it. You've fallen into the work from home spending trap. And today, we're going to look at the math and the psychology of why saving money by staying home is actually making you go broke. My name is Mike, and I spend way too much time thinking about the hidden psychological triggers that drain our bank accounts. If you're someone who feels like you should be saving more money now that you're remote, but the numbers just aren't adding up, make sure to hit that subscribe button and give this video a thumbs up if this helps you out. Look, the common financial assumption is that the office was the expensive place and the home is the cheap place. But here's the thing. The office provided something we all hated, but our bank accounts loved: boundaries. When those boundaries vanished, so did the friction that kept our spending in check. Let's start with a statistic that blew my mind. According to a recent study by LendingTree, nearly 75% of remote workers reported that their monthly spending has actually increased since they started working from home. And it's not just by a little bit. We're talking about an average increase of over $500 a month in stealth expenses. Now, you might be thinking, Mike, that's impossible. I'm not buying train tickets. I'm not buying dry cleaning. Okay, let's look at the math. This is where it gets really interesting. Let's talk about the invisible overhead. When you're at the office, your employer is paying for the high-speed internet. They're paying for the industrial strength HVAC to keep the room at exactly 72 degrees. They're paying for the endless supply of K-cups and filtered water. When you move that operation to your house, you take on the corporate utility tax. If you're running your AC all day in the summer because you're home, instead of letting the house get a bit warm while you're out, that's an extra $80 to $120 a month. If you upgraded your internet to the Pro tier because your Zoom calls were lagging, that's another $40. But that's the boring stuff. Let's look at the real killer, the convenience paradox. When you were in the office, you had to physically go somewhere to get food. There was friction. Now, you're in a flow state, you're busy, and the kitchen is so far away. Or, let's be honest, you just don't want to wash the dishes. So you open an app. Let's run the numbers on a simple DoorDash order. The burrito is $12. The delivery fee is $3.99. The service fee is $2.50. The tip is $5. Suddenly, your $12 lunch is a $23.49 transaction. If you do that just twice a week, not even every day, that is $2,442 a year on the I'm too busy to walk to the fridge tax. Here's what most people don't realize. They've replaced a $5 gas expense with a $15 delivery premium, and they're doing it 3 times as often because the office is now 10 feet away from the couch. This leads us to the psychology behind this. And this is where it gets really dangerous for your long-term wealth. It's a concept called the Diderot effect. Denis Diderot was a French philosopher who was fairly poor until he received a large sum of money and bought a beautiful scarlet robe. But then he realized his old rug didn't look good enough for the robe, so he bought a new rug. Then his chairs didn't match the rug. He ended up in debt because one upgrade demanded another. When you started working from home, you probably thought, I just need a decent chair. But then you realized your desk was too small for the chair. Then you realized your lighting made you look like a ghost on camera, so you bought a ring light. Then you decided you needed a mechanical keyboard and a second monitor. This is where it gets really interesting. Your home was originally a place for rest. Now it's a place for production. And because we spend 24 hours a day in this one environment, we feel an intense psychological pressure to perfect it. We used to spend money to get away from work. Now, we spend money to tolerate being at work all day. We've turned our sanctuary into a showroom, and that costs a fortune. But there's an even deeper psychological shift happening. I call it dopamine budgeting. When you're in an office, you have social interaction. You have a change of scenery. You have water cooler talk. These are small, free hits of dopamine. When you're isolated in your home for 8 to 10 hours a day, looking at the same four walls, your brain gets starved for a new stimulus. And how do we get a quick hit of new in 2024? We buy something. Amazon Prime is the remote worker's best friend and worst enemy. It's too easy to think, oh, I need that organizational bin. Or I should try that new supplement while you're waiting for a file to upload. These $15 and $20 purchases feel like nothing. They're microtransactions for your life, But if you're making 3 20-inch boredom purchases a week, that's over $3,000 a year. Combine that with the $2,400 delivery tax and the $1,500 utility and upgrade tax, and you're looking at nearly $7,000 a year in freedom fees. That is a massive amount of compounding growth you're sacrificing for the convenience of staying in your pajamas. Now, I'm not saying you should go back to the office and sit in traffic for 2 hours. I love remote work. But you have to treat your home office like a business, not a hobby. Here is the actionable plan to stop the leak. Step 1, the commute replacement. Whatever you used to spend on gas and tolls, set up an automatic transfer for that exact amount to a brokerage account on the first of every month. If you don't see it, you won't spend it on DoorDash. You have to tax your own freedom to ensure your future self actually benefits from it. Step 2, environment partitioning. The reason we overspend on home upgrades is because we can't escape the office. If you work in your bedroom, you never feel like you've left work. So you keep buying things to make your bedroom better. If at all possible, create a hard physical boundary. Use a screen, a different room, or even just a specific work lamp. When that lamp is off, the work version of you is dead. Step 3, the 24-hour friction rule. Delete the food delivery apps from your phone. Seriously. If you're hungry, you can re-download them. But that 60 seconds of friction is usually enough for your prefrontal cortex to kick in and say, wait, I have eggs in the fridge. I don't need a $25 burrito. Step 4, the utility audit. Check your power bill. If you're keeping the whole house at 68 degrees all day for one person, you're burning money. Get a space heater or a small portable AC for just your office space. It sounds small, but over 10 years, that's the difference between a paid-off car and a pile of electric bills. Here's the final revelation, and this is what most people miss. The goal of working from home wasn't just to not drive. It was to own your time. But if you are spending all the money you're saving on convenience, and dopamine hits, you aren't owning your time. You're just trading a physical boss for a financial one. You're still on the treadmill. The treadmill is just in your living room now. Real financial freedom comes from the gap between what you earn and what you spend. Working from home gives you a massive opportunity to widen that gap. But only if you're disciplined enough to realize that comfort is often just another word for expensive. Don't let your dream setup become a nightmare for your net worth. If you've noticed your spending creeping up since you went remote, Or if you found a way to actually save that commute money, let me know in the comments. I want to know what the biggest stealth expense has been for you. I read as many as I can. Thanks for watching. Go make your own coffee. Put that $5 in the market, and I'll see you in the next one.